Hello, my name is Eduardo Morales, and I will be talking about the culture of city officials. And so, I chose city officials because I've always been interested in politics, and I agree that politics has a lot to do with communication with citizens. So that's why I chose this. And so, the city leaders I chose to observe are El Paso city officials. They work in City Hall, and what their job is to bring awareness to the downtown arena that's supposed to be built in El Paso. And I went to a presentation, and it was at the Justin F. Williams Convention Center, which is next to the Plaza Theater in downtown El Paso. And so when I was there, I also encountered some peaceful protesters, and I did not think I would see any. And so while they were there, I thought, you know, let me observe them to see how they communicate with citizens compared to city officials. And so these protesters were from the Duranguito neighborhood, which is where the downtown arena is supposed to be built, and obviously they're protesting for the city not to build it there. So, what's unique about the communication of city officials is that they speak, professionally. They speak proper English. That's what their job enlists them to do. Be professional. Of course, they're all wearing suits. They sound very educated. So that's what makes them unique. When talking to each other, they have like code names, for certain projects that they're working on in City Hall, like stuff that the general public does not know about yet. And so they have their own code names for that. So that's what I observed when I was, you know, watching them. And, they also, again, they talk about subjects that, aren't known to the public yet. So, they might be talking about a project that they might work on after the arena. They the projects that they work on in their own workplace, of course, you can see that they combine them, and so they're able to communicate with themselves, better than they would with citizens because the citizens do not know what's going on yet. So when it comes to the protesters, what's unique about their communication is that they speak passionately. Of course, they do not want the arena to be built in their neighborhood, so they speak very passionately, from the heart. I spoke to this elderly lady, and basically I asked her a question, saying, what does the Duranguito neighborhood mean to you? And so what I was looking for is to see how she communicated her points to me. And what I found out was that, she didn't really have, points. She spoke all from the heart because she had wisdom. She was an elderly woman, so she had lived there a long time. So she was just, speaking from the heart of why they shouldn't build it. That it's a historical neighborhood, and that they shouldn't touch it. So that's why I found very unique. Most of them are Spanish speakers, mainly because they are, you know, um, from maybe Juarez. They migrated here to El Paso, and they lived in the Duranguito neighborhood. So yeah, the most of them were Spanish speakers, and obviously they talk about with each other what they're protesting. You know, the protesters will talk to each other when no one was watching about the project, about the arena. When no one was watching, they would talk about it, which shows that they were really passionate about it, and that they weren't just putting on a show for the people going to the presentation. They were really passionate about it. And so, what makes the communication between city leaders and citizens, what it says about the city's cultural beliefs and values, is that the officials all work together towards the same goal, and that is to bring the downtown arena to El Paso. They want the city to move forward with it. Of course, that's what they were hired to do, and they were chosen to oversee this project because they were passionate about bringing the arena downtown. And so they, again, they all worked together. Their values was the city's best interests, and basically what would be best for the city. And for the protesters is that um, what what it says about their beliefs is that they do not want to move. They want to stay in their neighborhood because that's where they lived all their life, and so their beliefs and their values stand in the way of the cities because they believe it's such a historical neighborhood. They believe that it should not be touched at all by the city. So that's what it says about the protesters' cultural beliefs and values. And so, in the end, when comparing the two communication styles, the city officials were much more professional, and the protesters spoke from the heart. The city officials, they had what they were going to say planned out. They had posters, they had videos being shown, so everything was all professional. The protesters, they had their own posters too, with information on why the arena shouldn't be built and information about how to get involved. But when you talk to them directly, like when I talk to city officials and when I talk to protesters, the city officials would talk much more um, in a professional tone. I saw them talking to two students, and one flaw that they had in their communication was that they spoke professional because this student, she was a younger girl, probably in elementary school, and the official was using maybe vocabulary that wasn't familiar to the girl, and so that's what I noticed. And so it was possible that the girl did not know what he was talking about because I feel the official did not know how to communicate with a younger audience. Um, with the protesters, again, they spoke from the heart. You can tell what their motives were. They weren't afraid to say what they wanted to say. So it was definitely easier talking to the protesters because everything just came out of the mind, out of the heart, and city officials did not really know how to communicate with citizens. It was easier for protesters because they are citizens, and so they're able to communicate with people who went to the presentation. So overall, that is my experience with the communication of city officials in El Paso and demonstrators. Um, the city officials, they had their plan. The protesters, they had their plan. So it was interesting to see on both sides. I went, and I originally thought that I was only going to see city leaders, but I think it was a much better experience that I saw protesters because, and they weren't violent protesters, they were peaceful protesters. A better word to call them would be demonstrators. I think it was a better experience to see both sides, just so you can compare and see, who was getting their point across, better. So that was my experience with the communication of demonstrators and El Paso city officials.